this I actually really like. What you did here, this is really smart. Most Final Fantasy XIV raiders who want to get better have no idea what's actually holding them back. So, I asked my viewers to fill out a form if they wanted one-on-one coaching. Today, I want to show you what that coaching looks like and what you can learn from it, even if you're never in a call with me.
Hi, I'm Lani. I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV since end of 2021. I was super casual player first, just MSQ and everything, and then I tried raiding for the first time, did a little bit of Pandemonium Savage with some friends, but this is my first time doing a full series in Dawn Trail. I cleared both lightweight and cruiserweight, and currently I am on Pictomancer for the heavyweight tier. And so far it's been really good, but I'm definitely looking to improve, which is why I'm here. So thank you for doing this with me.
So I went ahead and I looked at your logs, and we can kind of look at them together. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so you can see what I'm seeing in real time. I guess like the first thing is kind of like a mental note when swapping over to caster. You're definitely, especially coming from melee and fizz range, you definitely swapped to a more restrictive role in the sense that you don't get to freely move, and especially switching from dancer over to pictomancer, that could be something that's really kind of hard to get used to, at least initially, because you just kind of have to figure out how your rotation flows with how the mechanics are resolving in front of you. So that kind of ties into kind of the first section here, or we'll look at examples, probably like your first log and your last log of Vent Fatale, the first floor, just because we have the most amount of clears there. That's the biggest sample size. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the both of those up, and then we're going to go over to XIV analysis. Have you heard of that tool?
Yes, I use it myself to see where I can improve and all of that. I actually just checked it for my most recent M11 clear. Thankfully, there was still some issues, but not as much where I was missing a lot during like my 2 minutes. There was a lot of like weaving issues and interrupted casts, so at least on M11.
Yeah, so you had expressed to me that you're looking specifically to improve on Pictomancer and optimize better. The first thing I can immediately tell you is, or at least a fundamental for every job, right, is your ABCs. You want to always be casting. Which it looks like for the most part you try to achieve, but for some reasons, at least because I don't have the timeline of the fight in front of me, but there seems to be some parts where you're interrupting your cast. I feel like, or at least looking at it from a outside point of view without seeing the POV, what this tells me is that you're still kind of fizz range brained or melee brained. You're still thinking you don't really have a restriction to movement, so you're probably interrupting your casts then. You can tell me if I'm wrong on that, but at least looking from the XIV analysis, that's just kind of what it looks like to me. Because I'm thinking 40 seconds, okay, I think there isn't really anything going on there. Maybe it's Vamp Stomp or maybe it's the Tank Buster, but not a whole lot is going there. So you're not really in like panic, oh shit, I need to move mode yet here. So that's like the big thing. You like if we take a look at your logs, and I saw your gear too. You're like 784, 83. I think you're 783.
Yes. I'm missing chest piece, 2 armor augments, 2 accessory augments.
Yeah. So you're not BIS yet, but I see no reason why you shouldn't be able to get blues or even purples with the gear that you have now.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a confidence thing with just being able to... A lot of people have said you need to find your slide cast timings more and everything. So I think I'm trying to figure that out, but I don't have exactly an idea how to do that, if that makes sense.
Okay, we could go over that right now. The game doesn't actually give you directly what your slide cast window is, but we'll go ahead and look at my game for a second, right? Let me swap over to Pictomancer. The game, while it doesn't directly give you your slide cast window, it does give you an indicator. So what you have to kind of give you a reference of your slide cast window is take a look at like these emotes here, or like the other abilities, right? They start to light up before the cast is finished. If I start moving when these are lighting up, you'll notice none of my casts are actually getting canceled. That's the game's natural ability of telling you your slide cast window.
Oh, I had no idea. Oh.
At least to start, what you can do, it doesn't really work with your globals. You'll see that they're still kind of like grayed out. But your OGCDs and your emotes, they're going to light up as soon as you are able to start slide casting. I don't know if a lot of casters put emotes on their hotbar for any other purpose than this. That's one way. So yeah. That ties back into the ABCs, right? It does make a lot of sense with the confidence thing, right? Essentially, when you're playing a caster and pressing a GCD, you are committing to standing still until your cast is over. So that is definitely a hurdle to get over. What I would definitely say helps me a lot is hitting a striking dummy and just moving around to get used to the slidecast window, right? So literally what I was just doing right in front of you is just casting spells and then moving every time. We could even take this a step further. If the striking dummy is just not enough for you and you'd rather dodge some attacks, what you can actually do is go into some of these earlier unsynced savage fights or even the normal raids. You just come over, go to example Eden's Resurrection Savage, and then you just go unrestricted, and then you queue in to go start dodging the attacks in there. That's something you could do as well. That's like the biggest thing. Immediately, I guarantee if you start practicing your ABCs a little bit better, your grays will turn into blues, minimum. Grays to blues instantly. Like you'll skip green, you'll go straight to blue. Obviously, you have to like not die for that to happen, but let me just kind of visually show you the importance of your ABCs, right? And why it's really important, right? So in an encounter, an encounter is like a certain duration of length, right? So we're in the whiteboard at this point, right? So let's say this is like 0 minutes here, and then this is a 10-minute fight here, 10 minutes, right? So obviously in a 10-minute fight, let's say you kept full GCD uptime, right? You have like a certain amount of GCDs you can cast in that 10 minutes. Now, whenever you interrupt, you're essentially shifting this timeline over and over, more and more, eventually until this GCD just can't fit inside of the 10 minutes anymore. It's now outside of the 10 minutes. So that's the importance. The more and more you clip your GCD and just lose the uptime, the more GCDs you risk forcing out of your window that you have to do damage. That's the importance. Any questions on all that so far?
No, it makes sense. It's just, it's good to be able to have someone to like talk to it about, because I've had a lot of questions, but I don't really know a lot of caster players or Picto players. So I've kind of been trying to figure it out as I go and not be sure if what I'm doing is 100% the way, you know? So it's just good to be like, oh, here's some improvements for you. I was like, oh, I can't wait to try it out.
Absolutely. No, obviously there's a lot more we could be doing here. From the looks of it, it seems like you understand conceptually what your burst window is supposed to look like, right? I see that you're getting in your hammers. You're trying to get in as many of your subtractive spells as possible so you can get that free rainbow drip. Conceptually, you understand this burst window really well. I don't think we need to talk about the burst window itself. Now, getting to that burst window, that's where it might be a little different. But I think, at least for the most part, that getting to that burst window cleanly will naturally resolve itself just by fixing your ABCs as well. Because Pictomancer, it's a gauge job, right? So fundamentally, at least from what I'm seeing here, you understand that you're pooling resources to dump them in buffs, and you do that. And you try, and you even a lot of Pictomancers don't even do this. You're trying your best to get this buff on cooldown, at least for the most part here. So that's already pretty good.
Thank you.
So that immediately from looking at these logs, the biggest thing I would tell you to improve, if there's one thing that we get to talk about today, it's your ABCs. You'll notice instant, like I'm telling you, your parse will go from these grays to blues minimum. Just to show you how important ABCs are, if we go to my logs, I can show you, but we'll even look at this, right? So at this point for Black Mage, this is probably the best example I can give, right? My Black Mage currently is about the same amount of gear as you, about the same item level, like 783, 784, right? I don't know how much you know about Black Mage, but my rotation definitely could instill some improvements on it. But you'll notice that my GCD uptime is pretty much 100%, and all my usages, my dot is up, and that alone is enough to get me a purple when I'm not bis. So I'm not bis, but I'm still able to get what people would consider a high parse. So
that makes sense. Yep.
Number one important thing, like literally for you, nothing else matters. It's going to be your ABCs. That's going to give you the biggest improvement. That's what's going to make your parse spike significantly. The next thing I want to talk about is your job familiarity. Just playing more Pictomancer is going to help you achieve better results for your ABCs. When I took a look at your dancer logs and your viper logs, I saw that your ABCs were a lot better. They were kept a lot better. So that tells me that you just need to be playing Pictomancer more. My logs on Black Mage, if we take a look in Endwalker, when I first started playing the job, I have greens, and on the easiest caster possible, I have a gray. So, okay, it doesn't look like it's gonna look, but I can tell you immediately from this log, my GCD uptime is 76%. With downtime and everything, 78 is what I want to aim for. So I'm I'm 2% under where I should be to maintain full uptime. So increasing that you'll see a big difference there. So yeah, play more Pictomancer. Not just in your Savage clears, but if you do daily roulettes, you do alliance raids, you're gonna want to play Pictomancer as much as possible. It's kind of like a concept that kind of transcends Final Fantasy, and essentially what you're doing is you're you're playing one job or one role, one class, one character champion, and you're learning the game and you're learning how it works. Now I fully understand that you know how this game works, right? The way this applies to Savage is that these fights are different, right? You kind of want to treat Savage as like these own games, right? You're learning them and you're getting really comfortable with them. So in that sense, it's kind of like using the analogy of the game. These Savage fights are the game. So as you learn the game and become more familiar with them, committing to these casts will seem less and less scary as well. So stacks, spreads, ins, outs, they're everywhere. They're in every single piece of content in this game. Dungeons, guild hests, alliance raids, they're everywhere. So getting more familiar with what those look like and what different fights will give you in terms of timing to dodge them will naturally be able to increase your ability to freestyle. And that's essentially what playing caster without spreadsheeting is. It's freestyling. You'll be able to just hit your buttons and know that, hey, you know what? I have enough time to cast this, or hey, you know what? I'm going to need to move a lot. Let me prep a hammer motif so I can press my hammers and move, or save a comment in black, or save a swift cast to use on a motif, because that's 4 seconds of movement.
Yeah, I find that I'm doing that quite a bit. For example, M11 during arena split with the puddles, I have to either make sure I have a hammer up or I have some holy and whites, because I need to be able to move, because unfortunately a lot of times I'll get accidentally clipped because of latency, even with like some third party to help with that. So I try to make sure I have all that up, because I'm usually getting accidentally clipped when I'm trying to move, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's just kind of like a fundamental thing. Understanding what the attack is, like a visual snapshot or a cast bar, you kind of have to take what you see with a grain of salt the higher your ping is. So I imagine you're probably playing in like the 100s, maybe high 100s, maybe even 200s. So that means you have to move a lot sooner than I have to move. But that's something caster specifically is going to give you the leeway to do, because you probably noticed that you can just kind of order these motifs around however you want. You don't even have to use these comments in blacks as soon as you get them. The only time you have to worry about using them is if you're going to hit subtractive again, right? Because it'll overwrite. But essentially, you can spend your hard subtractive spells and then save this comment in black for when you have to move. That's like another tip.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's very useful. I had no idea.
And we'll look at it in game, right? So we'll see that I have a subtractive up and I have a comment in black. So I'm in my fast spells, right? My RGB spells. And whenever I want to move, I just give myself 3 seconds of movement there. So I cast subtractive palette, and then all I have to do is I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably in a point of the fight where I don't have to move a lot. I can burn this, but I know, hey, I'm gonna have to move soon. So then let's count how many GCDs we have, right? So we have 3 seconds here from a subtractive comment in black. We have 7.5 seconds here, assuming a 2.5 GCD. And then we have a swift cast motif. All of that is instant casts. Plus, holy and whites as needed, right? So how many seconds of movement was that? That's 3 plus 7, that's 10 plus 4. That's 14 seconds, 14.5 seconds of movement. Just right there. Just because I planned, or theoretically I planned for a movement intensive point of the fight. And that's what arena split could look like, right? So here's another tool. Here's another tool that I'll give you, right? This tool is called XIV in the shell. If you would like, you do have the option to kind of plan your rotation ahead of time, if that's something you like to do. So here we have the whole Pictomancer rotation just right here. And then now we have all the timeline for M11S, right? So we just have everything. We have the whole fight right here. So now we can start just kind of clicking in planning our GCDs and kind of using them. So I'm not going to go too much into this. This is something that I feel like you should mess with after you conquer your ABCs. But this is a very cool tool to use. And at the very least, what you could do is just take what you did, kind of copy it in the shell, and then explore alternative solutions to them. I used to,
for sure.
I'd say spreadsheeting increased my fundamental knowledge of Pictomancer even more, to the point where it allowed me to freestyle a lot better, because in my mind I'd kind of seen how I want to handle this before, right? So essentially you're just reestablishing a pattern with that. So very good tool to visually see your rotation and how they kind of work. So that means the biggest thing in terms of kind of finding out your movement and how much you should commit to that movement, I'd say the biggest thing is to always plan for the worst. So we'll kind of put it here. When planning for movement, always plan for the worst case. So for example, let's say in arena split, you know for a fact you can get away with moving for 3 GCDs, but to be safe, or sorry, no, that's not a good example. A good example is in one pattern, you know that you need 3 GCDs to move. And in another pattern, you know that you need 4 GCDs to move. If I'm telling you to always plan for the worst, if you had to make one rotation, which option are you picking?
The 4.
The 4. No, that's right. Exactly.
4. Yeah, the 4.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's planning for the worst case scenario, right? Because that means no matter what the pattern is, you know you're always going to have enough GCDs of movement for that scenario. Yep. So that's kind of like a little tidbit here for planning. So if you're like, okay, I'm reaching arena split, I haven't spreadsheeted, but I know I'm gonna need to move a lot. So I'm actually just going to pull all of my movement for that, and then I could just kind of like pull back from pull to pull until I find that precise number. So I think besides that, that's really everything that you would need, at least initially from looking at your logs, to instantly improve. While we watch this, what we'll do is we already went like through a lot of the nitty gritty. So if you want, you can tell me to pause. If you feel like you see something like, oh, I could actually do this here, and then I could tell you if it's like, oh, I agree, or here's what I would do. We could do that. Sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it, and then we'll go from there. So over here, you clipped your GCD because you double weaved 2 OGCDs after your motif. Again, not something that's gonna like instantly make or break, but your motifs, all of your spells actually that aren't instant cast, will only give you a 1 OGCD weave slot. So you only get to weave once. So after fire, you only get to weave once. After motif, you only get to weave once. Okay.
Get out of that habit of double weaving. Gotcha.
The general rule of thumb is if it's an instant cast, for every second you have, you get to weave once. So because this is a 2.5 GCD, I'm just playing on a faster spell speed, but imagine this is 2.5. If you're on 2.5, you get to weave twice, which is why when you're pressing Star Prism, it's a 1 second, which means that also means even though Star Prism is an instant cast ability, you do only get to weave once without clipping for this ability. So for every one whole second, you get to weave once. I mean, that usage is just free. So here's what I would have done different here. Unless you instantly know what you would have done different. If you want, you could go first.
Oh, no, I don't. No, you go ahead. I'm not sure. That's why I'm happy to listen.
Okay, so immediately here, what I notice is that you've prepped your hammers and you have some instants ready for these stacks that are about to go off. What I think could improve is that you continue on this trail, right? So you're hard casting your GCDs. You see Cut Black Blaze is casting, but here you use an instant cast GCD before you even have to move. So one of your options to move is now gone. And if you look, you didn't even have to move yet. You could have gotten this GCD off, and then you could have slide casted into the safe spot and then continue to hard cast, which means you didn't actually have to use any of your instant casts until here. And then we could see. It's just. Yeah. So now we're using Holy Whites, and now we're not even casting. At least from what I've seen so far, you've definitely lost 1 GCD. A whole GCD. Yeah, for sure. This fight is probably a really good indication of how, like, just with these first few seconds, whenever a boss goes down, goes into downtime, that's essentially a phrase. A phrase or a phase. Same thing either way. But we can essentially count how many GCDs we can get in that time before that boss disappears. So if you wanted a quick example, Vamp Fatale and M10, those are really good examples for starting to track your ABCs. Because you'll see how many GCDs you're supposed to get in the top log. Let's see, we can actually probably do that. Let me go over, and we're gonna compare to a top log, and we're gonna see what pictomancers are getting there, and we're just gonna compare again, and not to shame or anything, but just to kind of more reinforce the value of what you're getting versus what you should be getting. So we'll go.
You know, I'm not. I know it's not shaming or anything at all. I am fully open-minded to being told, hey, there's a lot for you to improve on. This is what you need to do, and I'm gonna be like, okay, awesome, give it to me. I will do what I need to do and study. You know.
So here in the log we have downtime. So we're just gonna go ahead and filter, and we're gonna filter at the same point in your log as well. Okay, and then we'll just look at one cast. Probably the most consistent cast is probably fire and red. So we could see from the beginning of the fight to 1 minute and 45 seconds, you've gotten 4 fire and reds. This guy has a whole extra fire and red in that same amount of time. And the reason he's able to get that is because he's not clipping or just not casting. So even if you continue to like clip, as long as you're getting all those GCDs, that's what's going to increase your parse. Essentially, at face value, like 99s, 100s, that's crit farming. But anywhere below, essentially, you're just trying to match the amount of casts that the number 1 log has. As a, I guess, any job in the game. So this is actually a really, really good fight to track your progress, because the downtime is so fast. It's 1 minute into the fight. Another thing here, and this is purely optimization at this point, but another thing here is that this boss just went into downtime. And you know he's going to be down for, I believe, 10 seconds, somewhere around that line. You could be, instead of casting your motifs, which do no damage, you could be casting your waters and blues, just any of your damage spells, until that guy goes into downtime. Because what you're doing is you're casting spells that don't do damage on a boss you could be hitting. But you also know that this boss is going to be untargetable soon. And to me, that sounds like a really nice place to cast the spells that that do no damage. So that's just free damage that you're going to gain right there if you make that change, which you already kind of do. You have one motif that you cast in downtime. That's where Pictomancer shines over the other casters. This is where Pictomancer is like, this is where it gains its damage, because now you're casting your preps for free and you just have it and you can use it. That's how Pictomancer gains a lot of its damage in downtime fight. So because of that, you just gained a free hammer, and that's bonus damage. That's really good. I like that you did that. So there, I don't necessarily not like that. You did clip your GCD, but you're doing it to set up a really strong window. And you performed the window pretty well.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, I think this one's a perfect window, right? Because you're not clipping in here. So that's a really good window. So all we need to do for you is get you to the point where you're getting to that perfect window, but you're not dropping any GCDs.
Yeah, there I could have gone an extra fire and red there. Probably actually all 3 of them. Yeah. Instead of just doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. No, you understand it immediately. So here, free paint, but you painted everything. So here you're good. What I would do here, because this is also very niche optimization. Just to maximize your 2 target, I notice you use your creature motif instantly. If you just wait a little bit for your tanks to drag the boss together, you'll end up hitting both targets instead of one. Unless this hits here. Oh. It doesn't look like it hits both. But if you waited here, for example, now these guys are together. Your creature motifs, they cleave. So you'd just gain free damage by pressing a button you were going to press anyway. Just like a GCD later.
Gotcha. Okay.
It seems like you
did not know that.
You understand that for your hammers. You use the hammer. And if you're going to do this for parsing, I like that. That's free damage gained because you're hitting both targets. Your motifs also do that. So that's free damage as well. Yeah, so here, all that needs to be implemented here to make this better is just slide casting instead of just moving.
Yep, yeah. This 2-minute here was always a bit funny for me. Yeah, go.
This I actually really like. What you did here, this is really smart. So this builds off the concept of what we said earlier, right? That when you're playing caster, you're essentially committing to the GCD. You're committing to standing put. Look what you did. You saw that you're red, and then you instantly moved to your spot. that means you don't have to, you did yourself a really big favor here. You created an opportunity to just be able to cast and not do anything. I really like that, because now you're in the best spot in order to just freely cast. And then I don't even have to watch the rest of this to know that that's exactly what happens, right? And whether this was intentional or not, your grass is actually placed really well too, which means when you move, you're going to be moving like up here to finish your grass if it's not finished by here. And you're good. You get everything. This is perfect. I wouldn't do anything different here. Now, obviously it's going to be a little bit harder on the blue side, but this is perfect. It kind of looks like you're trying to pre-position here too. I really like that.
Yeah, because I want to be able to keep casting. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, because too often than not, I would get a tether, it'd pay someone else, then I would get it again. I just wanted to be up the end I needed to be in case that happened.
That's really good.
And if I didn't, I just move out the way so I don't get hit.
Yeah.
And I try to have smudge up as much as I could. So if it was, for example, I'm on that side, I've gotten water, I've had to sprint across the whole field just so I don't mess up the tether, if that makes sense.
No, that's really good. And I think for the most part, you have it right. To prioritize your mechanics over the rotation, especially in a section like this. But you're already doing something fundamentally that's going to help you significantly in the long run. And we mentioned it earlier, but you're pre-positioning for a mechanic you might have to resolve. And that is really, really good. Because as you get more comfortable with the fight, you're just going to be naturally doing that for more and more mechanics. It's going to make it really easy for you to roll your GCD. And look, there you are again. You're pre-positioning. You literally don't have to do anything for probably 10 more seconds. This is great, because anything you feel like you might want to get out of the way immediately, you could just do. Yeah. I think overall you have really good fundamentals on caster. Strengthening, literally, as long as you fix your ABCs and just understand your kit a little bit better, you're going to be parsing purples, oranges in no time. Obviously, get BIS. That's going to make it a whole lot easier. But I think for sure you could be parsing purples now if you just strengthen the things we talked about. But I don't necessarily hate prioritizing the mechanic. So that, like, you could at least know for a fact that even if you feel like your Pictomancer isn't strong, as a raider, like as a whole, or just a raider in general, you're a good raider. This is someone that I'd want someone playing like this if we're trying to clear for the first time. I mean, still not bad considering that you don't even have a ton of kills. If you look at my logs from last tier, yeah, I have pinks and golds, but then you also see that I had to kill this boss 316 times to get the gold, right? So if you're not getting golds, don't feel bad about it, because or even
no, that's so impressive.
It's like,
that is so impressive.
I cleared the fight over 100 times to get this, and even then, like, I have pulls in here where I performed my rotation exactly the same, and it just didn't perform as well. Like this here, I didn't die, I didn't do anything wrong, but it's a purple, right? My rank 1 rotation also has a log in here that's purple, right? Sometimes it is just crit, but for you, you can get a purple. Don't even have to worry about if it's crit or not. You can just get it, even with 0% crit. You'll get it. You can get a purple.
I can't wait. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to start doing that for sure.
No, I mean, you show immense amount of promise. Not like I don't know. Like, I feel like potential is a word you use for like it could be, but like, yeah, you could be, but like I think you will be. Like, it's like the stuff you have to improve, it's not gonna take you like months to do. I think if you really locked in like 2-3 days, you could do it. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. For casters specifically, I feel like it's the only casters and healers. It's the only role in the game that your GCD uptime directly correlates with how much more you do the fight. Obviously, there's those really good players that can maintain 100% from the get-go, but getting that 100% uptime really comes from knowing the fight and planning around it. So the more and more you do a fight, the better your rotation is just going to get over time. So that only just reinforces just put in the time, but also put in the intent with that time of like the things we said here, right? So maybe play Pictomancer in your roulettes, just get more familiar with that stuff, and work on your ABCs, and then you're golden.
This has been like super informative. Thank you for doing this.
And that was the entire session. Like I said earlier, Lani has a lot of potential as a player, and I'm just really happy I get to share what I've learned over the years. If you want a chance at one-on-one coaching like this, you can find the application form in my Discord server. The link is in the description. I'll be selecting one person every week for a free one-on-one session, and my goal is to help you walk away with clear, actionable steps to improve. If you found this helpful, leave a like so I know to do more coaching videos like this, and subscribe if you want to see your own gameplay the next time I break down a session. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.